Have you ever dreamed about changing your life? Maybe you imagine becoming successful, respected, someone people admire. But sometimes there is a problem. You want success, but the work feels too hard. This is the story of a young man who had big dreams, but almost lost them because of his own laziness. And the lesson he learned changed his life forever. In a peaceful countryside village, surrounded by wide green fields, lived a young man named Daniel Carter. Daniel was 24 years old. He was tall, strong, and full of confidence. Almost every evening, he sat outside the small village store with his friends, talking about the future. One day, Daniel would say proudly, "My farm will be the largest farm in this entire county." His friends would nod. Some believed him. Others just smiled politely. Because everyone in the village knew one thing about Daniel. He loved talking about success, but he rarely worked for it. Every morning before sunrise, farmers across the village walked toward their fields carrying tools on their shoulders. The sound of tractors and footsteps filled the quiet air. But inside Daniel's small wooden house, everything was silent. Daniel was still sleeping. When the sun climbed high in the sky, he would finally wake up, stretch lazily, and walk outside. By that time, most farmers had already been working for hours. Still, Daniel never felt worried. He always told himself the same thing: "I still have plenty of time." Daniel's father, Robert Carter, had been one of the hardest working farmers in the village. For 40 years he worked in those fields, building a modest farm for his family. But age had made Robert weak. His back hurt often, and he could no longer work the long hours he once did. One evening, Robert sat on the porch watching the empty land behind their house. The soil was dry, and weeds had begun to grow. Robert sighed deeply. That land was supposed to be Daniel's future, but Daniel treated it like it meant nothing. A few days later, an old friend of Robert visited the farm. His name was Mr. Thompson, a wise farmer known for his experience. He looked across the empty land and asked Daniel, "Son, why isn't your field planted?" Daniel laughed casually and said, "I'll start soon. I just need the right time." Mr. Thompson looked at him carefully. Then he picked up a small stone from the ground and handed it to Daniel. "Tomorrow morning," he said, "walk to your field and throw this stone as far as you can." Daniel looked confused. "What will that do?" "You'll understand later," the old man replied with a calm smile. The next morning, Daniel remembered the strange request. Out of curiosity, he walked to the empty field and threw the stone. It landed not very far. The field was still silent and nothing changed. When Mr. Thompson returned later, Daniel said, "I threw the stone like you asked, but nothing happened." The old farmer nodded and said, "That stone represents your effort." Daniel frowned. "I don't understand." Mr. Thompson continued, "If you throw one small stone into a field and expect it to grow crops, you will be disappointed." He paused and pointed to the surrounding farms. Farmers don't succeed because of one day of work. They succeed because of thousands of small efforts repeated every day. Daniel stayed quiet. The words felt heavier than the stone he had thrown. That night, Daniel lay awake in his bed thinking. He remembered all the mornings he had slept late and all the days he had wasted talking about dreams instead of building them. For the first time, Daniel realized something painful. His future wasn't empty because of bad luck. It was empty because of his choices. Before sunrise the next morning, something unusual happened. Daniel woke up early. He walked outside and looked at the wide, empty field behind his house. For the first time, he didn't see empty land. He saw opportunity. He grabbed a shovel and walked into the field. The soil was hard and his hands quickly became dirty. His back started to ache. After only 1 hour, he felt exhausted, and for a moment he thought about quitting. But then he remembered Mr. Thompson's words about thousands of small efforts. So he kept digging. Days passed, then weeks. Daniel worked every morning before the sun rose. Sometimes he felt tired. Sometimes he felt discouraged. But slowly the field began to change. Rows of green plants appeared across the land, and the empty soil started turning into a living farm. Even Robert watched with quiet pride. Years later, Daniel Carter became known as one of the most successful farmers in the region. His fields stretched across the countryside like a green ocean. But whenever young people asked him how he achieved success, he always told them the same story. "The day my life changed was the day I realized dreams don't grow from words." He would pause and smile. "They grow from daily effort." Success is not built in one big moment. It is built through small actions repeated every day. Dreams are important, but without effort, they remain only dreams. If you truly want to change your life, start today. Even the biggest fields begin with one small seed.